We are recording. Okay, well, hello everyone. Welcome to Region 7 Presents Finding Sleep Hygiene Information with NLM Resources. My name is Margo Malachowski, and I'm an Education and Outreach Coordinator for the network of the National Library of Medicine in Region 7. My office is located at UMass Chan Medical School in Worcester, Massachusetts, and we are recording this webinar on April 8, 2026. So before we begin, we have closed captions available. You can click on the CC button at the bottom of your screen to start the captions for yourself. Everyone's microphones are muted to cut down on background noise, but we welcome your questions and comments in the chat at any time. Rebecca Brown from the National Training Office is here with me today, and she will be monitoring the chat. So please be sure to post to everyone so that both Rebecca and I can see your questions. Rebecca will queue up your questions as they come in and save them for us to address during one of our question breaks. This session is being recorded, and once it's processed and ready to go, we will post it on the NNLM YouTube channel and send a link to the recording to all of the registrants. So you will receive a link to the recording. And lastly, this class is eligible for continuing education credits from both the Medical Library Association and for certified health education specialists. So we will drop the link to the evaluation form in the chat at the end of the class. And filling out the evaluation form is your first step to claiming your credits. Now, the feedback that you provide us really matters to us, and it helps us to improve our future trainings. So please take a moment to complete the evaluation form, even if you're not interested in claiming credits. Okay, so here is our agenda for today. I will demonstrate how to use these resources for locating information on sleep hygiene. We will look at medlineplus.gov, which is a consumer health website. We will do advanced searching in the bibliographic database pubmed.gov, and we will search for studies with results in clinicaltrials.gov. Clinicaltrials.gov is a clinical research registry and results database. And these resources are maintained by the National Library of Medicine. There is a handout for today's class, and Rebecca will drop the link in the chat. So when you click on that link, the handout will download to your downloads folder, and you'll be able to open it up from there. Throughout the webinar, I will be referring to resources that are on the handout. Okay, I am going to turn off my video here and we will get started. Okay, so we're about a month away from daylight saving time. So let me know in the chat if you or your family or your cat or your dog experience any effects of disrupted sleep patterns. You know, on the Monday after daylight savings time, I thought I was doing good, and then the rest of my week I was disrupted, and I think even now I'm sleeping later than I usually do. So yes, I see. Yes, yep, it throws a wrench into people's sleep. Yes. The toddler had a hard time. Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's worse for the fall. Yes. It's still tired. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you for participating. So this is a useful time to talk about sleep hygiene. Sleep affects our cardiovascular health, our metabolic regulation, immune function, mental health, workplace safety, and learning. It's universal. People cope with sleep concerns across the lifespan. We heard from toddlers and on. So today I will use sleep hygiene as a case study, not just to talk about sleep, but to demonstrate how we can locate health information across National Library of Medicine resources. So we will look at medlineplus.gov, pubmed.gov, and the MESH database, which is a controlled vocabulary thesaurus, and clinicaltrials.gov. And all of these resources are maintained by the National Library of Medicine, and links to the resources are located on your handout. Medline Plus will be our first stop. So this website translates medical evidence into language that's accessible for patients and their caregivers. Notice that even at the consumer level, the content is rooted in information coming from the National Institutes of Health and other authoritative sources. Then we will move from consumer health information into biomedical research literature. We will stop briefly in PubMed for a keyword search and then spend more time searching medical subject headings in the medical subject heading or MESH database. MESH allows us to search the indexed concept of sleep hygiene and related concepts, and we will send that search to PubMed. Using controlled vocabulary allows us to have a more structured search. So PubMed shows us what's already been published, but what about research that's ongoing or completed but not yet published? That's where clinicaltrials.gov becomes useful. Not all completed trials are published in journals. So searching for completed studies with posted results can provide another layer of evidence. So let's get started with our demonstration. You can choose to just sit back and watch, or you could follow along by opening up a tab on your computer, or if you have a second monitor, you could do a search on that second monitor. So I will do my search by clicking onto this tab that says Medline Plus. Now the URL for Medline Plus is medlineplus.gov. And here I am, and as fate would have it, the featured topic is healthy sleep, which is wonderful that those topics rotate. So I think that's good luck for us here. But I will start my search in the search box here, and I will search simply on sleep and hit go. And my first result shows up in what looks like a file folder. And it says sleep disorders, and it gives a description, and there's an image. So this kind of result tells me that I landed on a health topics page, and below that are just links. Now, if I would like to see the variety of health topics pages in Medline Plus related to sleep, I can refine by type over on this side at health topics. And you can see that there are 100 health topics in Medline Plus related to sleep. And that first result is sleep disorders. But for today, I'm interested in learning about healthy sleep. So I will click on number 3, healthy sleep. And here I've landed on a health topics page. And all health topics pages are laid out in the same way. So it gives me the title of the health topics page, healthy sleep, also called, in this case, sleep hygiene. Up at the top, there are hyperlinks. And so what we're on is a very long web page, and these links would jump us down the page to where we want it to be. There's always an image over on the side of a health topics page. So right below the hyperlinks, we have a summary. What is sleep? How much sleep do I need? What are the health effects of not getting enough sleep? And how can I get better sleep? Now, under that, there are links to outside resources. And many of these links are taking us to the National Institutes of Health. And you see this icon here. But there are also links to, in this case, the Mayo Foundation and the American Academy of Pediatrics. Now, when you click on a link, and for an example, I will click on under specifics, brain basics. This will open up to a new tab. So I've been in healthy sleep over here, and now I'm in brain basics, understanding sleep. And this is information coming from the National Institutes of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. And this is a really lovely overview of brain basics and understanding sleep in language that would be accessible to patients and their caregivers. So here we have, if we scroll down the page, they call this accordion content. If you click on the little plus sign, it will open up. And we have the anatomy of sleep and sleep stages and mechanisms. And here there's a mention of circadian rhythms. We'll touch on that again later in the webinar. And then how much sleep do you need? And I will point out that this graph here seems to indicate that older people do not need as much sleep, but that's not really what the graph is saying. It says most adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep, even older people. However, older people may have more trouble getting enough sleep and are more likely to take medications that can interfere with sleep. And then there's additional information on dreaming and sleep tracking, the role of genes and neurotransmitters, and tips for getting a good night's sleep. And this is all from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. Okay, I will go back to my health topics page here and continue to scroll down the page. Now here I have links to clinicaltrials.gov, and you will see that it would search on trials related to sleep hygiene and trials related to sleep quality. Now I will not click on these right now. I'll do that later in the webinar, but I will click on these links, which are taking us to PubMed. So in every health topics page, we have a link to both clinical trials and journal articles, which are taking us to PubMed. There's always a sample of 3 articles here, and then there's Healthy Sleep, see more articles. And I will click on that. And it's actually taken over the Brain Basics tab, and now I am at PubMed. And in the search box, we have a pre-populated search. So I'm searching on sleep hygiene and humans and English in the last year. And it's not a letter or a case report or an editorial or a comment, but it is free full text. So that's the results that I have. So the search that was set up in Medline Plus has taken me to PubMed with a very specific search string. And I have 10 results. Okay, so keep note of that. And we will go back to Medline Plus. If we continue to scroll down the page, we will see in every health topics page, there could be some breaking up of information by demographics. So here we have information for children, for teens, for women, and older adults. And down here, we have information that are patient handouts. Now, years ago, I worked in a hospital system. I was a consumer health librarian there. And we would have people come in, patients and family members come in and ask for information. And I would be curious, like, about why they wanted more information than what their provider had given them. And I would hear one of two things. Either one, the provider did not give them any printed materials about their health condition, or two, the provider did give them information, but they wanted more. So Medline Plus is a great place to go for a patient level information that you could print out and share to people who might be asking you those sorts of questions. Okay, so I am going to come all the way down to the bottom of the page where there's this little arrow that is going to jump me up to the top of my health topics page. And I will show you three more things before I take questions about Medline Plus. The first thing I will show you is this Espanol. So if I click on that, I get to the Spanish language version of Medline Plus in this health topic. The page is set up identical to the English version. And whenever possible, the resources below, if there is a Spanish language version of them, that has been provided. So not every resource that's in the English version will also be available in Spanish, but the National Library of Medicine's worked very hard to include a robust amount of information in Spanish. And so I will come back up and get back to my English version. The second thing I want to show you is if we look on this side of the web page underneath the image, we see here if there is information in additional languages to English and Spanish, there will be a box here that says other languages. And if I click on that, we will get a link to PDFs of bilingual information, in this case on healthy sleep and with these languages. Now, it certainly isn't as deep as anything in English or in Spanish, but it's a place to go if you are looking for information in these languages. Okay, I will hit the back button. And this is the other thing that I wanted to point out to you. So this is what makes, so one of the reasons I love Medline Plus is that it operates differently from a website like YouTube, where you're looking at a YouTube video and then over on the side here, YouTube is suggesting other videos that you might be interested in. And some of them might be related to the video you are currently watching, but they could also be related to videos you watched last week or a Google search that you did, or even you get the feeling that they know, your age and your gender, and they're feeding you things that they think you might be interested in. Well, that is not what's happening in Medline Plus. The National Library of Medicine is very interested in helping you keep focused on the topic at hand. And so all of these resources on the side, whether it's the medical encyclopedia or related health topics, truly are related to the topic that you are researching. I will now click on sleep disorders just to, not now, sorry, show you that we have the same layout for the sleep disorders page. And it's what is sleep, what are sleep disorders, what causes sleep disorders, what are the symptoms of sleep disorders, how are sleep disorders diagnosed, and what are treatments for sleep disorders. And again, you have the list of resources underneath. And just to take a quick look down at clinical trials, we see that there are different topics that are being studied in clinical trials for sleep disorders. We have narcolepsy, sleep disorders, and sleeping pills. Okay, so this was a brief overview of Medline Plus. We do offer an on-demand course, and the link to that course is on your handout. And I can take questions now about what we've done so far.
So right now, there are no questions in chat, but maybe people are furiously typing. Uh, Not
Okay.
in a furious manner, though.
No,
Just
no.
not because they're furious, but
Furious as in quick.
yes, yes.
Okay, I'll wait just a little bit, and then we can also, I'm happy to go back, if people are.
And I'm going to drop the link to the handout again
Mm-hmm.
because a few people, I keep dropping it as the numbers
Yes.
go up. And Drea said, or they've started reading about, they're reading the information.
Ah,
So they're busy.
yes, yes, yeah. There's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good stuff in Midline Plus.
Okay, so hold
Okay.
on. Here we go. Can you see that?
Ah, yeah. Okay. How often are the mappings to clinical trials updated? I actually don't know how frequently that the pages are updated, but I would imagine that as trials are included in clinical trials, then that link would be updated, but I'm not sure about the link itself. Do you have any idea about
Oh,
that?
yeah. So we would have to look. I mean, I think you're going to show it when you finally click from Medline Plus to get into clinical trials.
Right,
There may be a search string, just like we saw in PubMed, that said, for the past year, which would include something that was added, 364 days ago or
right,
yesterday.
right.
So,
Yeah, we will take a look at that link later. But in terms of they may come up with new words here, I am not sure.
oh,
And
right,
maybe
that.
and maybe that would happen when the page itself got updated. But okay. Well, thanks for your curiosity on that. All right. So I will start my PubMed demonstration by clicking on this pre-populated search that we have here. So I am at PubMed and I'm going to just X out of this search and do a simple keyword search on sleep hygiene. And you can see that I am getting some um, suggested terms here, and I will click search. So when we had that other search that was sent over from Medline Plus, I had 10, I believe, results. And now I have over 10,000 on a keyword search. So one of the things I love about PubMed is that it allows me to look under the hood and find out what my search term did. And I can do that by clicking on Advanced, which is underneath the search box here. And when I click on that, up at the top, you have the Advanced Search Builder, which we will skip over for now. And I get my search and my history and search details. And you can see that here is the pre-populated search with all of these limiters here, and I got 10 results. And when I did a simple keyword search here, I get over 10,000. If I click on the details column here on this little arrow, it shows me what PubMed did. So it searched for sleep hygiene as a mesh term. And it also searched for sleep in all fields and hygiene in all fields as a keyword. And it even searched sleep hygiene as a phrase in all fields. Okay, so I'm we'll go back to my slides for a minute to talk about mesh. So here I am at my slides. And okay, so here's another time to get into the chat. So who loves a good thesaurus? So I'm a big fan of thesauri or thesauruses. I've actually seen both ways of saying plural. I also am a big fan of dictionaries and the index in the back of a cookbook. So let me know if you're a fan of a thesaurus, and even um, when when Rebecca was talking about furiously typing, that's all that wordplay. So let me explain what a thesaurus is. So I'm starting to see. Yes, absolutely. Judy, thank you. And so mesh is the National Library of Medicine's controlled vocabulary thesaurus that gives uniformity and consistency to indexing and the cataloging of biomedical literature. It connects all the different ways to express a concept such as sleep. So, mesh terms are revised annually to reflect changes in biomedical literature. Controlled vocabulary, this term right here, is a set list of words and phrases that describe the content of a source material. The terms that we will look at today, which are listed here, are indexed in MESH and are referred to as subject headings. And I will show you how to send MESH terms to PubMed, which will automatically explode. And I will demonstrate what that means when we're in the record. And so it means that the more specific terms listed underneath your search term will be included in your search. And I will show you what that means. So we will look at the MESH record pages for these terms: sleep, sleep-wake transition disorders, sleep disorders, circadian rhythm, and sleep hygiene. So let me go back I am going to go to a fresh PubMed page. So you can get to PubMed by by typing in pubmed.gov. Now you will see that the URL up here is a little more complicated. It's pubmed.ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. But if you just do pubmed.gov, that will direct you right to this page. And I'm on the right at the top of the homepage. If I scroll down a little bit, I will get to this section, this white section under the blue that says Explore, and there is a link to the MESH database here. So I will click on that. And here I'm at MESH, which is the Controlled Vocabulary Thesaurus used for indexing articles for PubMed. Okay, so for today's demonstration, I will start with sleep. And I will type in sleep and hit search. And here I have 55 results. So when I did sleep in Medline Plus, I've got 100 results. Now we have 55. And there are a list of different sleep related terms. I will click on the first one, sleep. And up at the top, I have a definition of sleep, which is a readily reversible suspension of sensory motor interaction with the environment, usually associated with recumbency and immobility. So now I'm giving you a brief overview of a MESH record page. If you are interested in learning more about MESH, more aspects to the record than I have time to do today, I encourage you to sign up. I think we've already got a class scheduled in June, which I will be teaching on specifically on MESH. We also have an on-demand course called How PubMed Works, and the link to that is on your handout. So again, this is just where I'm going to be skipping over some of these things, but these aspects will be talked about in those courses. So I will scroll down to show you the indexing of where sleep falls. And here you see sleep, the term which were on their record page, it was bolded in black. And we have it nested under psychophysiology and also under nervous system physiological phenomena. Now, when I mentioned about your term exploding, what I meant by that is if we search for sleep in PubMed using the MESH term sleep, it will also include these terms that are indexed underneath sleep. So in this case, it's dreams, sleep deprivation, sleep duration, sleep hygiene, sleep quality, sleep latency, sleep stages, and some of these are repeated down below here, except we have the addition of sleepiness. Okay, now, so this is one record. let me go back to choose a different term. And I will choose number 5 here, the sleep-wake transition disorders entry. And here the definition is parasomnias characterized by behavioral abnormalities that occur during the transition between wakefulness and sleep or between sleep and wakefulness. So this term parasomnias means movements or behaviors associated with sleep that may impair sleep maintenance. So if we scroll down again to look at the indexing, we will see that sleep-wake transition disorder shows up under parasomnias in both cases. But if we look up further in the indexing, we see nervous system diseases and mental disorders separately. Now, we also see that there are no terms below sleep-wake transition disorders. So this is the last stop. There will be no explosion to other terms. This is the end of the line for this term. Okay, let me go back again to my search results page to show the third term or phrase, and it is number 13, sleep disorders, circadian rhythm. And if we click on that, we have dysomnias associated with the disruption of the normal 24-hour sleep-wake cycle secondary to travel, e.g., which means, for example, jet lag syndrome, shift work, or other causes. And dysomnias are a broad category of sleep disorders characterized by either hypersomnolence, which is falling asleep when you don't want to, or insomnia, which is not being able to sleep when you do want to. Okay, if we scroll down the mesh record page, we see a couple of indexing. One is sleep disorder, circadian rhythm under chronobiology disorders. And here under occupational diseases. And then we have this dysomnia, sleep-wake disorders, again under nervous system diseases and mental disorders. And that when we do see jet lag syndrome, so sleep disorder, circadian rhythm would explode to include jet lag. Okay, and I have one more term to show you. I will go back to my page, and I will tell you that sleep hygiene is like number 25 of 55. So I will just type it into the search box here and hit search. And now I'm at our fourth mesh record page, sleep hygiene, habits and practices conducive to getting the right amount and quality of sleep, including responding to environmental factors that may influence one's sleep. And one more time, I will scroll down to the indexing, and we see sleep hygiene falling under health behavior and also under sleep and psychophysiology. So in the chat, who can tell me what term will be included if I search sleep hygiene as a mesh term in PubMed, sorry, and what will my term explode to include? Let me open up my chat here. Sleep quality, exactly. You got it. Great. Okay, so let me come up to the top of the page here. So I'm showing you these different mesh terms to help you think through what you might be looking for in the biomedical literature. Are you looking for information on health behavior, which most closely aligns with sleep hygiene? Or do you want parasomnias or dysomnias? Or maybe you are running searches with different mesh terms to look at the topic from multiple angles. Now, keep in mind that citations in PubMed are indexed with multiple mesh terms. In a few moments, we will look at an example citation that is indexed with several mesh terms. But right now, I will show you how to do a PubMed search on sleep hygiene by telling PubMed that we want sleep hygiene to be a major topic. And this is my favorite way. So if you remember, we did a simple keyword search on sleep hygiene in PubMed and we got over 10,000 results, which is way too much, not useful. So if I click on restrict to mesh major topic under here and then add it to the search box, that is the beginning of running a search in PubMed, identifying sleep hygiene as a major topic. So, and then so then the other thing I'm interested in before I have one more thing I want to say about this, but let me finish this first. So I am mostly interested in patient education. So I can add terms to my search builder. Oops, it'd be good if I spell it correctly. So here I have sleep hygiene as a major topic of a journal article. And then I have patient education is something I'm also interested in. This is automatically anded together. I could choose a different Boolean operator here by changing this, but I will keep it at and I will search PubMed here. And now we have 27 results, not 2,000, or I'm sorry, 10,000. So again, to learn more about using all the different features of Mesh, I encourage you to sign up for that course in June. So that's what I wanted to say. So let me get back to my.
Margot, before you,
Yeah,
if I don't know if you're going to your slides, but there are couple of questions regarding
sure.
mesh terms. So, there was one, I think it was Tawny. It's way back, and I hope I didn't. So, and this kind of tied into, and you might want to go back into mesh, jump if you still have a
Sure.
mesh tab open. She asked, does humans MH? So, you sent over the Medline Plus, which is on the
Hmm.
you sent over the Medline Plus search from, oh, we sent it over to PubMed, and humans MH was a limit there. And she asked, does humans MH limit research studies to include only those on humans and exclude animal and cell studies? The answer is yes there, but I thought you might just search for humans here in Mesh and to show her that tree. And
Um,
well, here in Mesh, if just type in humans.
right in here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And that's our result. And then scroll to show her the hierarchy. And it is animals. You'll see that, humans are animals, but we're as Margot said before, this is humans is the last stop in this
Yes.
tree. So no cells per se, and so yeah, there's nothing below humans there. So that's that.
Okay.
Then there was another question, I think, related to you just built the sleep hygiene search,
Hmm.
and then you added patient education. But the question was, do you need to include text word when using a mesh term? And I think that comes from other databases.
Uh,
The use of text word, like
right.
TW. And I'm trying to remember if PubMed, if that's a tag, I can look that up, but the answer is no. You don't
Okay.
need, I mean, you just label a mesh term MH
Right.
or not because,
Right. And so here, let me remove this and remove the restrict to mesh term. So I could just use sleep hygiene into the search builder and that is tagged as mesh. And so the difference being if I want to restrict it to a mesh term, Um,
Mesh major topic. Yeah.
yeah, mesh major topic. I'm sorry. Yeah. So, and I found where I wanted to say this and I skipped over it before. So the National Library of Medicine uses an automated software tool to analyze journal article titles and abstracts, which is why it's important for authors to put in their titles and in their abstracts what the key information is that they want, that the the software to pick up on. And so because that's how we're going to know if it's how it gets assigned a mesh term and a major topic. So are there any other mesh questions right now?
Nothing else, and I hope we answered those couple
Yes.
questions.
Just let us know if we forgot something. Okay, so I will do this again. So patient education, whoops, again. And again, this is ANDed. And when I search PubMed, I once again get that 27 results. So here I will, so that's different from 10 results from the Medline Plus, and it's also different from 10,000 from a keyword search. And I want to show you how many terms have been, that this particular citation was indexed with multiple mesh terms. So I will click on number 5, the effects of sleep hygiene education for insomnia, a systematic review and meta-analysis. And when I click on that, and here I get the abstract, there's page navigation on the side, which again, we have a very long web page and it will just jump us down to where we want to be. And here there is a link for mesh terms. And it shows that I have mesh terms with the heading cognitive behavioral therapy and a subheading methods. We go more into subheadings in the class on mesh. Also, the mesh term that this article's been indexed with is humans, patient education as topic, with the subheading of methods, randomized controlled trials as a topic, sleep hygiene, and sleep initiation and maintenance disorders with therapy as a subheading. And these asterisks here indicate that this is a major topic of this particular journal article, as judged by the title and the abstract that is submitted by the author. Okay, so I will I will look under the hood again. And oh, wait, one more thing. If I go down to the bottom of this citation, oops, under link out more resources, we see that there is actually a link to Medline Plus. And when we click on that link, it takes us to a page on insomnia. Now, you may remember that Medline Plus had 100 health topics pages related to sleep. So this is the insomnia page. So I thought that was, and actually, I never really registered that this was here on the citations page. And so when I was preparing this class, I found that and I thought, well, that's very handy. I didn't know it was there. Now I will look under the hood to look at my different search terms in the search history. So I clicked on that advanced under the search box. And here are my 3 searches. So this was the search from Medline Plus. This was my keyword search. And then this was the search from that I sent from Mesh. So if I click on the details on this arrow and see what happened, I have sleep hygiene as a Mesh major topic and patient education handout as a publication type, or patient education as a topic in a mesh term, or patient education just as in all fields as a keyword. So that's interesting because in my search when I was thinking about it, I wasn't really thinking about pulling up a publication type. I wasn't looking for a handout for patient education. I was really thinking about patient education as a topic. So I'm showing you this because if you are trying to, fiddle around with your search terms and try to get, a better results list of results, this is where you can look to see what happened during your search, which is a really handy way to learn more and to tweak your search so that you're getting better information. And I will say that if it was a patient education handout I was looking for, I would go back to Medline Plus because that's where the patient level information is. I would not necessarily be looking in PubMed for that sort of thing. Okay, so are there any other questions or anything I can go? And we will have ample time at the end too if people need some time to pull together their questions before I move on to clinical trials.
Nothing in the chat box at this time.
Okay. All right. So I will go over to my tab that has clinicaltrials.gov. And the URL for this is clinical trials as one word, .gov. So PubMed shows us what's already been published, but what about the research that's ongoing or completed but not yet published? And that's where clinicaltrials.gov becomes useful. So we will do a simple search today. The first thing I will point out to you is right up at the top that the US government does not review or approve the safety and science of all studies listed on this website. And if we do this accordion thing by clicking on the plus sign, we see that clinicaltrials.gov is a website and online database of clinical research studies and information about their results. The National Library of Medicine, or NLM, maintains the website. The study sponsor or investigator submits information about their study to clinicaltrials.gov and is responsible for the safety, science, and accuracy of any study they list. So here we have a list of studies. The National Library of Medicine is not ensuring the safety and science and accuracy. That is the responsibility of the study sponsor or the study investigator. And you will see this statement on every page in clinicaltrials.gov. All right, I will start my search. Here, I will point out that all filters are optional. You have to put something, obviously, you have to put something in somewhere, but you do not need to fill out all of the boxes. So, and condition and disease, I will put in, oops, sleep hygiene. I will go with sleep hygiene this time. Um, Now, I've already confessed my love for dictionaries and thesauri. So if we look here at this round circle with an I in it and click on that, it opens up the glossary on the side. So anytime you see that, you could open this up to find out how clinical trials is viewing this term. So disease and condition is the disease, disorder, syndrome, illness, or injury that is being studied. On clinicaltrials.gov, conditions may also include other health-related issues such as lifespan, quality of life, and health risks. In this case, we're looking at health behavior. So in other terms, I will put patient education. Okay. And if I continue to scroll down the page, we see that it is defaulted to all studies. If I was looking for studies that were recruiting or not yet recruiting, I could change this. But I'm interested right now in seeing studies that have results. So I will keep it on all studies. And then I will click on more filters, which will open up in this accordion sort of way. And here is the eligibility criteria, age, the study phase, study type, and here's study results. I will click a check mark in the box of with results and come down here to the bottom and hit search. And I have only 2 results, which is fine for demonstration purposes, nice and tidy. Now, if I wanted to fiddle around with my search terms, I don't have to go back to the home page. I can just keep on the side here, and all of the filters are on the side. So I could fiddle around with this right here to see if I could get a, a, a wider variety of results. So here I have my 2 results, and you can see that each of these results has an NCT number, which is the number that gets assigned to each submitted study. And we see that both of them are tagged as completed. And there's a hyperlink right to the results page for both of these results. Now, we also see the conditions being studied, and here sleep hygiene, sleep habit, good, sleep behavior, and down below insomnia. Now, these terms are submitted by the study investigator. And you may ask, does clinicaltrials.gov use MESH terms? Yes. So clinicaltrials.gov utilizes MESH primarily for describing the conditions being studied and the interventions being studied. So the data submitters, the people who are working on the trial, are encouraged to use MESH terms, to consult the MESH database to identify MESH terms when they provide information about the conditions being studied and the interventions being used. So when they submit that information to clinical trials, they are encouraged to use MESH terms. Clinicaltrials.gov uses an algorithm developed by the National Library of Medicine to automatically assign additional MESH terms to each trial based on the provided information, the information that's provided by the study investigators or sponsors, the data submitters. Okay, so let's take a look at the record pages for both of these. I will start with the first one. So, and we can see that my search terms have been highlighted. So it's sleep hygiene education. This first one is effects of sleep hygiene education on sleep health in community dwelling older adults. We have the NCT number. We have the sponsor, which is Black Hills State University, who the information was provided by, and the information was last updated about 2 years ago in 2024. If we scroll down, we have 4 tabs, which includes a results posted tab, and that's because there are results. If we were looking at a study that did not have results yet, that tab would not be there. Up at the top, we have an overview with a brief summary and a detailed description of the study. And this is the only place in which you will see like a narrative, a story of what happened in the study. The rest of this record is really data. So we have, and we can use this navigation on the side to jump down this long page. We have the contacts, the participation criteria, the study plan, including the arms and the interventions, the collaborators and investigators, um, and the study record dates, and then more information here. And here are the terms that are related to the study, and these are the MESH terms. Now, let me go back up to the top. I believe I will jump up with using the study overview and scrolling down because I want to show you that there are additional resources provided by the National Library of Medicine, including a link to Healthy Sleep from Medline Plus and also the FDA. So let's click on the Healthy Sleep. It does open us up back to that Healthy Sleep page, and we'll go back to our study. Okay. So again, if we go back up here and look at the results posted tab, we will get the results, but we don't get a story of what happened. And for that story, you need a publication. Now, there is a publication associated with the second study. So I will go back up to the top here to show you that second study. So here are my results. I'm looking at record 1 of 2. We got 2 results. And the next study, I can click here. And the second study is reducing health disparities for Black women in the treatment of insomnia. We have our NCT number. We have our sponsor, which is Boston University. And the last update was posted in 2022. And I will click on my study details tab here. Again, there is the summary and the detailed description. And we see on this navigation page here that there are publications right here. So if we click on that, we will see that these publications are automatically filled in from PubMed, a public database of scientific and medical articles, and may or may not be about the study. So they are brought in by PubMed, and they may be related to the study in some way, or they may actually be about the study. And in this case, it is about the study, and we can double check that by clicking on the link, which brings us to the article in PubMed. And if we scroll down below the abstract here, we will see the trial registration number. And here's our NCT number. And I won't click on that right now, but it would bring us right back to this 519 as the last 3 numbers. If we go back here, we will see that 519 are the last 3 numbers here. So to sum up, the clinicaltrials.gov gives us the data and the study details, but for the narrative story about the results, we need to see if there's a journal article. And there's not always a journal article. Certainly 1 of 2 here, but even statistically speaking, there's fewer than 50% of the trials that are completed in clinicaltrials.gov actually have a published article, and you can learn more about that. We do have an on-demand course on clinicaltrials.gov, and we teach a webinar on clinicaltrials.gov. We go into much more depth about publication and clinical trials in that class. So I do want to show you one more thing before we get into questions, and that I will go back to my healthy sleep Medline Plus page. So this is where I want to circle back to click on the clinical trials link here, and sleep hygiene. And if I click on that, it will show me that I have 31 studies. So, and this is what's different. So here you can see what is being searched is just sleep hygiene here, and there's no other term. So in my initial search, I was searching for patient education. I, I also was looking for studies that were completed and with results, and this is not yet recruiting and recruiting studies. So that's why we're getting a different number. So when you are searching, when you go from Medline Plus and use those links, you are looking for studies that are not yet recruiting or recruiting. So that will be a different number and a different set of results. So, okay, so let me open up my chat box here.
Yeah, a question just came in. And if you stay where you are, I think. So, Milana asked, can you limit by trials with publications? And I'm guessing she means here, is there a filter in clinical trials? I mean, we say there's results, but does results mean published? Is that equivalent?
No, you would, the best way would to go through PubMed for if you're looking for publications that are associated with trials, you would search PubMed that way.
And Margaret, I have it handy, but do you have that search, that SI search?
Yeah, let me see
I,
if,
I can put it into chat, but if
yeah, sure.
okay. So here, especially for Milana who asked the question, but anybody,
Hmm.
in this case, sleep hygiene, I don't know if you want to copy and paste that and put it into PubMed.
Sure.
Sleep hygiene is ANDed with clinicaltrials.gov and then tagged SI, which is secondary information.
Right.
And that pulls in trials, well, that have been published.
So
And yeah.
it was SI in bracket.
So, yeah, but you'll need, so sleep hygiene and then clinicaltrials.gov,
Right. And you have to do the,
SI, yeah, bracket SI.
and you have to do the .gov.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't work.
Right. It would then, if you just left it as clinical trials, it would probably try to search that as a phrase or something. I don't know.
Okay. Yes. So,
And if you click on that first one, it doesn't really matter which, and we can scroll down a bit because I looked at this one. What we're after at the bottom of there, stop at conclusions. Yeah.
yeah,
That's how that NCT number is kind of how it came in.
right. So, yeah, so you can do this search like this. There's also a filter for clinical trials here, or
Well, that's an
but
article type.
that's an article type, right? Right,
Yeah.
right, right,
So that SI search
right,
will connect you to clinical trials.
right, right, right.
Yeah. And Milana says, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't press enter. When I put it into chat, I'm sorry. That's the search, everybody. Then it's the same as sleep hygiene that Margot put in. And you can obviously change the topic. It can be about
Right,
anything.
right. Yeah. And I see that Rebecca has included in the chat the 2026 mesh terms.
Yeah, somebody asked for that.
Yeah,
And those are already incorporated. You know, you don't have to, when you're searching, in PubMed and or Mesh, you're searching with the latest.
right. So I live in Western Massachusetts, and Springfield is the home to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and every year they update their dictionary too. So it's interesting that we language is not static, and there's always adding new definitions to terms. Okay, so I am here for additional questions. One of my goals here was to show how these different resources are linked, and how you can use the different resources for different reasons. I will also share um, the MLA CE. We also have the chess credits too. So, so once again, Medline Plus is translating medical evidence into language that's accessible for patients and their caregivers. And even at the consumer level, the content is rooted in information coming from the National Institutes of Health. And then we looked at biomedical literature in PubMed, and we did a keyword search before spending more time in the MeSH database. And then we finished up by looking at clinicaltrials.gov. So let me see if there's anything else popping up in the
Couple
chat.
of thank yous.
Mm-hmm.
And I put the evaluation link into chat if it disappears because of other comments, just let us know and we can put it in there again. I will also add, if you don't mind, that
Yeah.
the CHESS credit, so the Certified Health Education Specialist, um, if that's the credit you want, they're going to ask you for your chess number. And and we submit a report to the National Chess Organization quarterly. So there could be a lag between the time, you're filling in the evaluation and the time you see those credits appear. I'm going to guess in your chess portal.
Yes.
And it's different than the CHIS, Consumer Health
Yes.
Information Specialist, which is set up by the Medical Library Association. So two different things. Um, so- all right. That is all there. We see some more thanks.
Okay, I'd given ample time for questions here, but I think we are finished up and thank you so much for joining. I will stop the recording in a minute.